Okay, let's do this piece next. This has something to do with uh, pressure safety. It has something to do with the interaction between the carburetor and the fuel valve, because the fuel valve operates on a vacuum system from the carburetor anyway. I don't really understand it, but so I'm replacing this old diaphragm, which is like kind of disintegrating and getting all nasty. Okay, so I was able to get a new one. So, um, so there we go. New diaphragm. Oh, one of the things that I picked up, one of the tricks I picked up when I was doing my giant 3-barrel carburetor for my little tiny Honda, um, was if you take some of this stuff, this is silicon-based grease. This is not regular grease. Regular grease will eat parts like this. It'll degrade it. But this silicon grease, is primarily for lubricating the little guide pins in your brake cylinder things, because they have rubber bushings on them. So you don't want to put regular grease on them because it'll degrade the rubber bushings. This stuff doesn't degrade the rubber bushings and stuff. It's silicon based. So just take a tiny bit, okay, and think of this not so much as lubricating, because that's not really what this is going to do. This is more like moisturizing, um, like for dry skin or whatever. And what this should do, it worked out great on my car so far, is this should make these diaphragm pieces last even longer than they already do. Okay. See, these guys are typically exposed to air rather than fuel, so they're part of the vacuum system. And so just sitting in the air for years and years and years, yeah, they'll dry out. Okay, so we got that one done. We need a spring. There's a spring. And we need the cover. Here's the cover. Make sure the spring goes in that little tab there. And then instead of the old screws, I've got these replacement screws here. Incidentally, if you've just cleaned out your carburetor, make sure that you blow out all your screw holes, especially the ones that don't go all the way through, because the last thing you want is fluid down in there stuck underneath the screw. So that's important. Okay, so that's on there. The other half of that is up here. This is also a part of that vacuum system for the fuel valve. So that's got to go back together, right? So first we got to work on this little assembly here. Okay. Apparently this part here is sold as one piece. It doesn't really make sense right now. Yeah, so we got that That little spot, we got this little orange guy that sits on there. Let me see. Oh, yeah, this is one thing that isn't new, actually. This is the original diaphragm, and it's in such good shape I didn't even bother replacing it. Just the same. Let's get about a quarter as much as I used last time. But yeah, this is nice and pliable. It's in really good shape, so no point replacing it. Plus, I think that this diaphragm and this little metal piece here and the screw that holds it all together, I think that's all one piece. That when you buy it, you gotta buy the entire thing. It's like, but there's nothing wrong with it, so I'm not gonna do it. Okay, that's a much better amount. The other one I put way too much on and had to spend a lot of time getting it back off again. But just a tiny, tiny bit. You don't need much. I mean, there's enough here for probably, 500 carburetors or something. And, ooh, plus I can use it when I do the brakes too, because I'll be doing the brakes later. Okay, so you got that on, and then the screw goes on there like so, and it's not going to go all the way in, just enough for the threads to poke through. And then we got that little nut to go on there. So then we'll snug that down just a little. Okay, that's good enough. Okay, so what you'll see is that this guy can actually move up and down. That's why he's got that O-ring there. So sealed, not sealed, sealed, not sealed. Anyway. And then, okay, yeah, so this guy is ready to go. Now, he's going to sit on here. We got to get the gasket on here. So I replaced the original gasket. Yeah, see how it's cracked? Plus it's got, I don't know, it's got some goop on there that just will not come off. Anyway, new gasket. Let's see, let's make sure we're lining up with all the holes. No. Yes. Yes, okay. So, I'm curious. The original gasket partially covers up that hole. Can you see that? And the new gasket also partially covers up that hole. Originally I thought, I'm gonna just cut that so that the whole hole is exposed, but now I'm not so sure. That might just be on purpose. I don't know. I'm gonna leave it be for now, because I mean, if it worked before, it'll probably work now, right? Because that gasket's been on there for a long time, so maybe it's offset on purpose. Who knows? So let's see. Got to match the big hole and the small hole with the big hole and the small hole. Well, the screw hole and the little air hole right there. Right, and then we've got a spring. Got the spring that goes on there over the nut. Again, the screw hole and the little hole, which will line up there. And then replace these three guys with these three guys. Is it? Oh, it's okay. Okay. That springs. Oh, it's wrong side, so hold down. Okay. So that's that. What else do we have? Oh, how about the enricher? The enricher is going to go there, but we got to put it together first. Okay, so here is what I think is the replacement enricher for that came with the carburetor kit, but it doesn't really look much like the original. It's machined different, it's different lengths, and it's missing the pin that comes out. And the springs are not the same either, they're two different lengths. So again, I'm going to keep the old stuff. Oh, it did come with a new little circlip, so I can replace the old rusty one with a shiny new one. And the shiny new one has been like anodized or something, so that's nice. So let's see, we'll get this guy put back together. That piece goes on, and this piece goes on. Since I don't have any replacements for this stuff, I decided not to try and pry it loose. I'm just going to leave it as is because I don't want it to break. So that goes on, and then we've got our little plastic piece that gets caught by the lever, and then we've got the circlip, which we will not drop and lose somewhere. I got tools to take it off. There we go. Okay, just had to get it in the right spot. There we go. Okay, so now that's all ready to go. So we'll just screw that right back in here. Nice and snug, just a little snug. Okay, what else? Okay, so we've got the, oh, I don't know what it's called. This part. Your spring, you got a little plunger here with a round top. That goes in there. Actually, should have put that on the spring. Because it's supposed to sit down in the spring. There we go. Sit down in the spring. Then we have this bottom piece that hooks to the slide. So that goes on there. Then we've got a little spacer. And then we've got the top piece that's responsible for pulling the slide up and down. So, compress that spring a little bit, and there we go. That's all put together, and then we got our little piece here with the tab on it. What do you call that? It's like an anti-unscrew it tab. And then you got this special little bolt with a rounded bottom, goes on there, shoves everything together, and wouldn't you know it, I have lost every single 8mm socket that I have. I can't find any anywhere. It's usually the 10s that get lost, but this isn't so bad. I'll just bend that. But oh, here's some needle nose pliers. That'll help. There we go. So that's all assembled, ready to go. Let's see. Oh yeah, let's take a look at. Okay, so here's the original needle here, and this is the one that came in the kit. And you can see right away they're not the same. This one is longer and skinnier, and it's got several notches in there. This has a single notch, and it's shorter and fatter, which is what makes me think that that needle jet in there, probably the new one, this new needle jet probably wouldn't fit the old needle very well. And I'm going to go ahead and use the old needle because the new needle is so different. You know, I don't want to change things because this was supposedly working before. So I don't want to mess up something that's working. So I'm going to go ahead and put this back together. Let's see, we got this little plastic part with a little tiny tab on there that points down. That keeps the needle from spinning, I guess. I don't know what else it would do. And then we've got our old circlip, which looks practically new. And we've got our new circlip, which is practically new. I'll go ahead and use the new circlip. There we go. And then that slides up there to butt up against the circlip. And then we have a little bushing that goes on top. And we got a spring that goes on around the bushing. And then that whole thing goes into the slide. Right down into the bottom, and then we'll turn it till that little tab seats. Okay, and then with the notch facing me, I'm going to put, wait, is it facing me or is it facing away from me? Facing me. Okay, so if you look on the body here, you'll see this little brass plug with a notch in it maybe. That is not an adjustment. That is a little plug that gives you a little notch, a little tab rather, along the hole that the slide slides in, whatever that's called. This notch meets up with that tab in there so it doesn't work, so it stays in one position. So that is not an adjustment, that just stays put, and it's only there to keep that little tab in place. That's what that's for. So with the tab facing me and therefore the notch facing me, I'm going to put this assembly in with the little lever thing on the left. Set it right in there and line it up with the screw holes as best I can, and then get the screws, which didn't come, new screws did not come in this kit, so we'll just reuse the old ones. See if I can, see if I can get those down in there. No, I thought that was a little more magnetic. Let's try needle nose pliers. Can I get that in there? Oh! Yay! Alright. See, my fingers have that silicone grease kind of on them now, so I'm having trouble. Okay, so get the other one in there. There we go. Screw that down. Get it all nice and snug, but not too snug, because, you know, aluminum and brass. And also the last thing you want to do is round off those heads, right? Okay, so there's our slide assembly all ready to go. With their needle in the right spot there. And okay, so now we can go ahead and set this in here, line up the notch, Make sure the needle is going to go into the needle jet. It needs a little help there aligning. There we go. There we go. Nice fit right there. Okay.